Republicans like to lie. I like to expose liars. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome back to Face the Nation. We now go to the state of Mississippi. Joining us is the governor, Tate Reeves.
Hello, my name is Michael. I present to you today an interview featuring Margeret Brennan of CBS Face the Nation and Tate Reeves of Mississippi Governor's Mansion. Topics include mail-in voting, school reopening, and of course, unprompted kissing Donald Trump's ass. My personal favorite. I'll be popping in throughout the video to provide context and commentary. Enjoy Margeret Brennan versus Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves. And also me, I'll be in it too.
Who is in Jackson this morning. Good morning to you, Governor. According to Johns
Good morning, Margaret. Thanks for having me on today.
We're glad to have you. According to Johns Hopkins, your state has a positivity rate of 23%, which is the highest in the nation when it comes to COVID
23%?
infections. Where are you headed going into a fall that the CDC warns could be the worst ever?
Well, I haven't seen that particular data, but what I can tell you is
I
that
only
our
recently
state,
learned what data is.
with a 7-day average of 1,391 cases on July the 29th. As of yesterday, we had brought that number down considerably to 728 cases per the state of Mississippi for a 7-day trailing average. And so we've actually almost cut the total number of cases on a daily basis in half just over the last 2.5 weeks. And what that shows us is that our mitigation measures are working.
We went from really bad to just real bad, which is the bar for success in Mississippi.
If you will maintain social distancing and if you will wear a mask, you can really curb the amount of transmission in the community, and you can actually maintain a relatively normal life.
But your state, I mean, I'm looking at a statement from your state health officer. It says that you have 11 hospitals with 0 ICU beds currently available. That seems dangerous.
Yeah, Tate, that seems kind of dangerous.
More stringent measures.
For your
you seem to be
constituents.
characterizing this as under control, but this looks like your medical system could be overwhelmed.
No ICU beds, bro.
Mark, I think you may be looking at data that's 2 or 3 weeks old, but the
No, this is
reality
from a briefing
that,
this
that
week
in
with
our
your state health officer.
From this week.
Well,
Your
the
hospitals are in
reality is
trouble
in our
right
state
now.
that we've actually cut the total number of cases on a daily basis in half over the last 2.5 weeks. We peaked at 1,391, as I mentioned earlier. We're down around 700 right now. Do we have hospital capacity issues? We do. But the reality is, Margaret, in our state and virtually every other rural state across America, we have ICU bed issues and hospital capacity issues even when there's not COVID-19. And so,
Margaret, our hospitals have always sucked out here. And let me take this opportunity to also throw our rural state neighbors under the bus. Their hospitals have always sucked
available
too.
throughout the state of Mississippi. And so while we've got challenges, we're certainly dealing with it. The other thing I'll tell you is we also know very clearly that hospitalizations and fatalities are a lagging indicator with the COVID-19. And so what we're seeing in hospitals is really what the transmission was 3 and 4 weeks ago.
Those things mean we fucked up 3 or 4 weeks ago. You know, when no one knew about the pandemic.
In-person learning. About 300,000 kids are back in the classroom. You've had about 109 cases of COVID. You've quarantined roughly 500 students due to some cases. Why not shut down the schools? And what is your thinking in deciding that? Like, at what point does it get to an infection spread that makes you not just quarantine, but shut down the school?
Yeah, we aren't so much guided by numbers as we are words, Donald Trump's words.
It's very simple, and it's really what Dr. Redfield with the CDC has said. When you're talking about opening schools, you're talking about mitigating risk and making a decision between public health with respect to the COVID-19 and public health with respect to kids having...
And also public health with respect to Donald Trump told me I had to open the school.
As you have done it, and there is an infection in it, which you have, why don't you shut it down?
Well, we have very objective measures in place to shut down.
Republicans don't know what objective means.
But keep this in perspective. You said yourself that we have 300,000 kids.
This is the part where I use the mainstream media's words against them.
100 cases that have been confirmed positive. And what I'll tell you is we've yet to find one that actually the transmission occurred inside the school. In virtually every single one of those cases, it is these kids have gotten the virus outside in the community and brought it back into the schools. So
That's not our fault, Margaret. This is the fault of the American parents.
Immune from getting the virus, and so we've got to take measures to make sure that those kids have the opportunity to learn.
Right. You could shut down bars, for instance, to stop that community spread, as the White House has asked some states to do. I do want to move on, though, because
we have significantly limited bars in Mississippi.
Right. They close at 11 p.m.
Oh, yeah, because everybody knows Corona doesn't go out until after 11 p.m. at night.
And your state was identified
Central
by the Postal
Time.
Service as one where mail-in voting could be delayed. Are you confident that all mail-in ballots in the state of Mississippi will be counted in November?
I'm going to get to the rest of this interview, but first, a quick look into the history of Mississippi electoral law. It's going to provide some very important context for the remainder of this interview.
The estimates are that the Republican lieutenant governor, the Republican candidate, could lose by up to 9 points in the popular vote and still be named the next governor. So let's just say your support is concentrated in heavily black districts in the very segregated environs of Mississippi. It's going to be real hard to carry a majority of the House districts. And if a candidate doesn't win both a majority of the popular vote and a majority of those districts, well, then the Mississippi House of Representatives, which is overwhelmingly Republican and massively gerrymandered, gets to pick the governor.
Well, that strikes me as neither free nor fair.
So, why on earth would the framers of the Mississippi State Constitution of 1890 have done this? Luckily, they were extremely explicit about their intentions at the time. One of the framers of that new constitution was a man named James K. Vardaman, who would go on to become a U.S. Senator and governor of Mississippi. Here's how he put it, quote, "There is no use to equivocate or lie about the matter. Mississippi's Constitutional Convention of 1890 was held for no other purpose than to eliminate the N-word from politics." They then put into place explicitly white supremacist, anti-majoritarian governing structures to preserve white control of the state at all costs. That included as well poll taxes and literary tests designed to suppress the black vote, which have since been struck down.
Yeah, but that was then, though. I'm pretty sure they've changed.
But despite the fact that the gubernatorial voting system is pretty clearly unconstitutional, it has not been struck down. It is still a law 129 years later.
And now, back to your regularly scheduled public grilling featuring Margeret Brennan versus Tate Reeves, Mississippi governor. It's too much?
I am confident that the ballots that are legally cast in the state of Mississippi will be counted, and I'm also very confident that Donald J. Trump is going to win.
Well, you know, Mississippi legal like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Mississippi, and he's going to win it big. Every vote that is legally cast in the state of Mississippi will be counted in the November election, and I'm confident that once all of those votes are counted, that Donald J. Trump is going to win Mississippi and many other states
overwhelmingly. Yeah, I asked you what legally cast meant.
Wow.
But, so your state doesn't currently allow for absentee ballots for fear of getting COVID. Like if someone doesn't feel safe going to a polling booth and wants to vote by mail, you don't allow for that right now. Why not?
We think that mail-in voting allows black people to vote.
We think that our elections process, which has been in place for many, many years, ensures that we have a fair process in which we have the opportunity to limit fraud. We still have fraudulent claims every single election.
We still have claims that black people were able to vote every single election.
And we've
you
actually
have a positivity rate of 23%.
Folks in our state that have had every vote that is legally cast in the state of Mississippi.
Legally cast by a white person.
In the November election, and I'm confident that once all of those votes are counted, that Donald J. Trump is going to win Mississippi and many other states
Oh,
overwhelmingly.
sweet Jesus.
But, so your state doesn't currently allow for absentee ballots for fear of getting COVID. Like if someone doesn't feel safe going to a polling booth and wants to vote by mail, you don't allow for that right now. Why not?
This is why not.
Because some statistics suggest that if you're poor or from an ethnic minority, you're more likely to get sick or even die. COVID-19 is killing black Americans at a higher rate than anyone else.
We do not allow mail-in voting in the state of Mississippi. We think that that our elections process, which has been in place for many, many years, ensures that we have a fair process in which we have the opportunity to limit fraud. We still have fraudulent claims every single election.
I looked it up and there were about 31 cases of voter fraud from 1993 to 2019. Total. Is that enough to make a difference? Of course, those numbers might be a little bit biased because they're from the Liberal Heritage Foundation. Just kidding. It's got the word heritage in it. And also foundation. It's conservative, okay?
We've
You have
actually
a
got
positivity
many,
rate of
folks in our state that have had
23%.
Democrats
Aren't you worried
that have
about the
gone
health
to
of your
jail
constituents?
because of election fraud, and it's just reality.
He might be talking about this incident from 2018.
Johnson is one of 7 arrested on allegations of voting-related crimes in the town of Canton. They face accusations of bribing voters, improperly helping people fill out absentee ballots, voting despite being convicted of disqualifying felonies, and voting even though they lived outside the city or voting district.
Okay, looks like we got him. And remember, in terms of anecdotal evidence, Republicans only ever need just the one. I mean, why support your policy with evidence and research when one single example can buttress your entire contrarian worldview?
First of all,
Well, the
that's
reality
not
is
substantiated,
that
but
every legal ballot cast is going to get counted.
you have a positivity rate of 23% in the state of Mississippi.
That's pretty high, bro. That's like way higher than the average for voter fraud.
Can you tell people that they can go to the voting booths and not get COVID? Why don't you offer the option for someone who's afraid of their health, someone with asthma, someone with diabetes, someone who's overweight, to send in their ballot by mail?
Well, we're not going to allow them to send in the ballot by mail unless they legally qualify for an absentee ballot, which is certainly allowable under
what I'm
Mississippi
asking
state
is
statute.
why not allow
If
them to qualify based on those comorbidities or those concerns, the fear of getting COVID?
Margaret, Mississippi statute is not based on need. It's based on race.
We're going to have a huge turnout in November. In fact, Margaret,
And
I'll
it's
tell
better
you,
if you're
we've already
white.
had multiple elections in the last 3 months. We've had special elections throughout the state of Mississippi. We've had very good turnout in every single one of those elections. We've had fair elections, and we've had a winner, and we've had a loser, and we're going to do the same thing in November.
We've had a white winner and a black loser.
All right, no intention to change that.
Okay, so that's the end of this interview. What did you all think? Personally, I thought as a Republican governor, he came off as typical. But as a human being, he came off as reprehensible and a sycophant. And just in case there's anybody out there who was thinking that I was making fun of Mississippians, no. I am making fun of your governor because he deserves it. You might think differently, then that is where our differences lie. Republicans are trying to suppress voter turnout, not just in Mississippi, but everywhere. In an audio recording obtained by Politico, Donald Trump said, "Many blacks didn't go out to vote for Hillary because they liked me. That was almost as good as getting the vote." Okay, setting aside for just a second that he said this in front of prominent civil rights leaders. He's basically saying he needs black people not to vote. When he rails against mail-in voting, he is railing against people of color voting in the 2020 election. What the state of Mississippi has done in their state successfully for the last 130 years, Donald Trump is trying to do across the entire United States in 2020. And why is he doing this? Simple. He does not want to be accountable to people of color. He wants to be accountable to someone else.